Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Carlton People. Today I've got a guy who I've appreciated along the journey. He keeps me humble, keeps me honest. He lets me see things from the other point of view, and really embodies what the channel's all about. And I'll explain a little bit more in some detail. But Jad, mate, welcome.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for the rap, mate. What a rap. Jeez, didn't expect that. I'm pumped.
Huge rap, mate. Absolutely. No, I mean that. I mean that. As I said, the channel's all about discussion, and we love the club. We all feel differently about the club. But one thing I've really enjoyed about you and meeting you through the journey is we sometimes don't see things the same way, but you make me
Mm.
think, oh, okay, yeah. And I think we're in this age, especially online, where disagreements happen over the football club and people turn nasty. Whereas with you and I, we've always been able to just take what the other is saying and just think as opposed to just react harshly. So I mean that. I mean that, mate. It's important.
Yeah, no, thanks. I definitely agree, mate. Like, that's the reason why I do message you as often as I do and we do chat, because you got to know who you can go to, because if you talk to the wrong person, you're going to get like a volatile reaction. It's not going to go anywhere. But I think we're both pretty respectful in the way that we talk about it. Yeah, but it's always worth it. Like, there's no point in just having screaming matches and abuse and all that. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. No one learns anything. Like, and as you said, I get to see your point of view, because there's times when I've messaged you and then you say something and I'm like, oh, yeah, all right. That's a very good point. And then I just I just have to backtrack.
No, it's good fun, mate. It's good fun. Well, like I said, welcome to your episode of Carlton People. Really keen to chop it up with you and see where we go. I've got to know, where does it begin for you, mate? How does it all start for you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's everyone's got their story, I guess. For me, it's I kind of view it as it's I've kind of been on my own through it all. So I was in primary, probably grade 3 or 4, can't remember. And I had some Hawthorn mates, and they said to me, "Yeah, hey, who do you go for?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I just said, "I don't know." And then they showed me the Hawks, and I'm like, and I didn't really see any other teams. So I'm like, okay, it's Hawks, right? And then so I went home. I'm a Hawthorn supporter, whatever. Didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know Carlton, Essendon, didn't even know. And then we were having a family barbecue, and I walked in. Um, it was like in the foyer area, and I had my uncle sitting there and the rest of the family. And I walked in. I was like a little kid. I was so excited, and I'm just like, I'm a Hawthorn supporter. And it was just they all just stared at me, dead silent. And my uncles looked at me and they're like, no, we're a Carlton family. You go for Carlton. And then I was a kid, so I didn't really have any objections. But I was just like, okay. And then I think after that, I got a bit of exposure to the club. And I don't know, because I've been thinking about in the lead up to this chat, like, how am I going to describe like what I felt when I saw that jumper? I can't even describe it properly, man, because I saw it and it was like a sunny day at Optus back then, Optus Oval, Princess. And I just saw it like glistening in the sun. And I saw those players like Kuda, even Big Lance. And I just fell in love, man. Like, like it, from when I thought I was a Hawthorn supporter, comparing that to the feeling when I saw that Carlton jumper, it's like, it's night and day, man. I truly believe it's like it's a connection. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it. I can't
No, I think
explain it.
I actually think you have explained it because there is something that it's different. It's the logo. It makes sense. You look at it, you can clearly see it's a CFC. A lot of the other Guernseys have stripes or a sash or whatever else. There isn't a real clear logo, and the blue is beautiful. The logo's in white. It's distinct. And then when you're talking about Optus Oval, I mean, there's seeing it in the sun, glistening, and then there's the vibe of Optus Oval and what that used to sound like or what that used to be like. That's interesting. So it was kind of in your blood, but you just
Yeah,
hadn't connected with it just yet.
yeah. Like, because to be honest, it was really only my two uncles who were big into it. But I think what happened along the journey as I was growing up, I think they got disconnected with the club in a way. I think because you know how we've got a huge supporter base, but there's a big portion that got disconnected through everything that happened.
Mm.
And I think that's what happened to them because they kind of just told me, you're a Carlton supporter. And then they showed me some pictures and whatever. And then that was it. But from that point on, they didn't really hound me or anything. I think they just knew we were Carlton and they had to make sure I was Carlton. But then they just got on with their lives because they weren't like how I am now. I think they just lost connection with the club. You know, life happens. They're both business owners, like they own the cafes and all that sort of stuff. And I think life got in the way, and they just lost that connection. So ever since then, it's been pretty much just me, like bringing it back into the family. And now they're both really into it. We're all signed up members now. We all sit with each other. So it's kind of like, yeah, man, the baton kind of passed to me, and then I had to make it survive in that, like for the family sort of in that way. But man, I'm very selfish when it comes to this club. Like, I believe it's my club. Mine was, but yeah, I'm very fierce in my passion for it. That's for sure.
You are very, very passionate about the club. So that Optus Oval game you were talking about previously, was that the first time you remember being there and watching a game live, or like what I want to know is how far back does your memory go from watching a game, whether it was on the TV or at Princess Park or yeah.
Okay, so at Princess, it wasn't a game that I was at. It was more like they took me down to the club. I think it was like, I can't remember. It was like an open training session. They took me. I can't even remember who took me, to be honest. But it was definitely family, and they took me, and we saw the cups on the wall, and then we saw like the jumpers framed up, and then from there it grew to TV, and then I just feel that there was 2 points where I connected with the club. Then I lost a bit of connection, and then I connected again, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, it was mainly through TV, and then I was at the last game ever there as well. So that was a crazy day. That was a sad day. But yeah.
Okay. So you're born in 93?
Yeah.
93. So you and I have got a very similar, if not identical experience. I'm a 91 kid, 95, I don't remember. I was 4 years old. 99, I don't really remember. Like, I don't really remember it, if I'm honest. I kind of remember, like, the first goal that we kicked in the 99 grand final, but I don't remember much of that. My memory sort of kicks in pretty much 02, 03, then sort of the Mark Murphy draft days. It really kicks in from there where I'm remembering, games, week to week, year to year. What a stitch up. What a stitch up.
Absolutely, mate. Oh my god, man, I was a Hawk supporter. I would have seen 4 freaking flags, but whatever, man. But yeah, like exactly when I really connected with the club, like fully, and until now to this day, it was definitely in that 03, 04 era, and it was tough, man. I'd go to school, and the boys would be like, "Well, how'd Carlton go this week?" And we'd be flogged, and obviously, we were cheaters we were cheaters, we cheated, this and that. And man, and in that era, my hero was like Ryan Houlihan. All respect to the great Hula, but my God, like, come on. But what a gun, though. I still remember that goalie kick that sealed the game against the Bombers at the G, when that G was still being constructed. I think he was in a pocket, and it was raining, man. It was wet, and he just slotted it, and we'd win, and we won. That's a big memory, because that's when I was watching that game on my own in my little it was like a little box TV.
Yep.
And just seeing Hula slot that from the pocket in the wet, the long sleeves, that was magical.
Yeah, you know what I love? I love how I'm 29, you're 27, and slowly but surely some of the things that we used to do to watch the games are going to sound so crazy to like a generation in the future. Like when I talk to people who tell me about how they used to sit around the radio to like listen to a game because there was no TV at the time, like that's crazy to me. But when you and I, because I remember that box TV situation, I had the same thing, this tiny little thing, right? When I'm going to tell that story to, the 25-year-old in 20 years from today, they're going to look at me and be like, wow, like, yeah, I find that interesting. We're slowly getting there.
Yeah, man. That little box TV. And I find growing up, there are just certain memories I have that really made me love the club even more. So that was one with Hula, just
Yep.
on that little box TV, and it had the little the VHS player installed into it
Mm-hmm.
in a little unit. Just yeah, that was crazy. I was just in my room, this stupid little kid just just banging the walls. Yeah, man, far out. Good
What
times. Yeah, I know what you mean.
what
It's all moving on. Everything's our era is starting to become the old era.
it is. It is. What are some of the other memories that first come to mind? Some of the most, the cool moments that you remember, whether it's a goal like Houlihan's goal or a particular game that stands out, finals or non-finals. What are some of the games that really shaped your experience?
I got two. I got two. There was one. The one actually, I'll go with both of them. The Hawthorn game. It was the last time we beat them. Up until we beat them 2 years ago, I think, when Bolts was still there. But the funny thing about that is that was the first game I ever went to that was in the like the first game I ever went to that was in the what was the stadium called? Telstra Dome back then.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first game there, and we beat Hawthorn. And the reason why that's so special is that the next time I actually went to a Hawthorn game was that Bolton game when we beat them. Jared Pickett teased us all and made us think he was going to become the next Byron Pickett. And so it's just that was funny. But the really big one was 2008 against the Pies. Fevola's 4 last quarter goals, and we were in the 8 after that. I mean, I was in the very top level at the very back. My uncle Sam took me, and that's when he really reconnected with the club again because he took me,
Yep.
and we did form a bond after that game. And yeah, man, like that because it's why I'm excited for what's ahead because that game to me was a reminder of what we used to be. Like just the excitement around the club. So Fev kicked the 4 goals, and then he had a shot after the siren, and he nailed it. And the crowd, the G was packed, and I only think there were like 80,000 there. But to me, being this little kid, I was just thinking, looking around, like this place is the walls are gonna fall in a minute. It's gonna start crumbling. And man, we won that game. And I remember seeing the paper the next day, and it was the boys hugging like after Fev's goal, and it said Carlton's in the 8. And that was like that first real like, we might be back here.
Yeah.
Like we're on the way. We didn't make finals that year, but it was just that seeing the papers and the noise in that place that day, man. Just that was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, we started moving. That was the rebuild before this one. That was 2008 was obviously Juddy's first year. And that year we started showing something probably not so different to 2020, to be honest, where we showed some things. We were in the 8. We were close to the 8. We were there, right there until the very end of the season, the last few rounds. And then we just didn't make it. I actually remember that year very clearly. I was in year 12 in 2008. And I remember that obviously disappointed we didn't make the 8, but very optimistic that, okay, this is the start of something. And then 09, obviously we make the finals, 10, 11. Those were sick years. And like you said, you just assume like, okay, well, we've got the draft picks. We've gone through the rebuild. These draft picks are now starting to grow up and become men. And as a result, they're, the most talented players of their age group. So we're getting better and we're just going to be good for, a decade because we've got 3 number 1 draft picks in a row.
Oh, no. What happened to after that game? We went to the Essendon game. I think we played them the next week, and we got spanked. We got spanked by the Bombers. I think it was like 36 points or whatever. And it was just that week we were up, and then we were down. And then I remember leaving the ground, and we're just copying so much crap from these Essendon supporters, man. And since that really solidified my absolute hatred for them. Like,
Yep.
mate, what are those colours anyway? Far out.
It's true.
How you like that?
They're disgusting, mate. They're disgusting.
I just think that Ratton team. I honestly feel like I'll say this till the day I die, that getting rid of Fev, okay, it may have been the right thing, morally, socially, whatever, but that cost that team a genuine run, man, at a flag. Like, it's just so hard to say they shouldn't have done it, but then they shouldn't have. Do you know what I mean? Because that guy was just, he could have taken us very, very close, man. And I look back at that West Coast game that we lost by 3 points in the semi, like 3 points off the prelim. If we had Fev then, who knows, man? Who knows what we could have achieved? But I guess, it's the consequences of your choices and can really affect the club long term, man. Like,
It's true. I remember very clearly a lot of the criticism about Rats from a lot of people, myself included, was about he doesn't have a plan B. He's getting out coached in the finals. We made finals 3 years in a row. And, we lost to Brisbane at the death. We lost to Sydney sort of late in the game. We obviously smashed Essendon, then lost to West Coast very late. And I remember the criticism because the opportunity to get Mick was there. And a lot of people were saying, that's what we need. The list is here. We just got to get that coach that knows what to do in the clutch moments and blah, blah, blah. And obviously it didn't turn out that way. Turns out we didn't have the list. Do you blame Mick or do you blame the football club?
I 100% blame the club.
Yep.
And this is why I'm still jaded from that era, because I was so in and committed and so adamant and just so strong with how I felt that what was happening there. I 100% blame the club. I think if Mick Malthouse was not available and he didn't go on that radio show and just tip his toe in the water, because I remember he went he had an interview and they asked him, as journos do or whatever, and they just said, would you coach Carlton if it became available? And he didn't even say no. He just did that thing where he said, Ratton's the coach at the moment, blah, blah, blah. I just think if he was never available, Rats would not have been gone. Mm-hmm. Because that final year, he had a lot of obstacles. Like, our injury list was decimated. And we lost to Gold Coast, and that was the nail in the coffin. But I think a strong club doesn't. I don't think a strong club reacts to public perception. I 100% believe that. Look at Richmond right now. The scandals they've had with Stack and then even Dimmer, they're not sitting there in the offices backstabbing each other and making change this, change that. I think a strong club sticks to its values that are within their four walls. And I don't think a strong club reacts to public perception. And I think that's what we did back then.
Yeah. I mean, there's something I agree with you on. I don't think it's Mick's fault at all. I hear a lot of rhetoric around Mick was selfish, Mick fucked the club, he just wanted to get his coaching record. In my head, I'm like, of course he wanted to get the coaching record. That's like, he loves coaching. That's what he wants to do. And when they ask him, would you be able to coach our club? He's going to say yes. It's the ability, like you said, to back in the plan. Look, it's easier to talk about it now. I'm just trying to put our mentality back at the time. We've got Judd in his prime. We're thinking this is the window. If we win a flag, we win a flag. It's all worth it. I mean, I kind of get it. History will tell us that you've got a coach needs time with the group. I don't know of many coaches who have just stepped into the ring and won a flag. I mean, I know Chris Scott did it, but that Geelong team had already won a flag. So it's tough. But ultimately, it was a failed era. It was a failed rebuild. But here we are now, 2021.
What I will say about Mick, though, what I will say quickly about Mick, I absolutely, I'll be honest, I despise the bloke for what he did to our club. But I don't blame him wholly. I blame the club for letting him be there, because I do think he did join for a bit of selfish reasons and a bit of, obviously, the guy, like, he wants the team to succeed. But I do think there was a bit. I do think he took that job for the wrong reasons. But ultimately, it was the club's fault for putting him there. That's how I feel about it.
They weren't able to see that he was in it for those reasons. They had their blinkers on, and they just thought, "Yep, he'll be able to do it," because they believed that he was the man for the job.
Yep, and I'm not saying Mick was this evil mastermind. I'm going to destroy Carlton from the inside, like all the memes. But I just mean, like, his reasons for being there, half of it were for the right reasons, and then half of it for the wrong reasons.
Fair.
It's just, yeah.
So what about now?
Now, oh, mate, it's been very painful, hasn't it? It has been absolutely heart-wrenching to see. I remember back in 15 when they declared this rebuild. And like, how do you? I don't even know how I got through it, man. Like, how do you psych your mind up? Well, like like now we're looking forward to the year. Back then, what do we have to look forward to? We're going to see a bit of growth from this guy, this kid, and that kid, and Harry. Maybe Harry can play. Let's see a bit of like, like in the moment you're able to do it, but looking back, I just think, how did I psych myself up? Like, what was there to look forward to, man? Like, what? Like, gee, we were psyching ourselves up to see these high draft picks perform the basics.
Yeah, I know.
Man.
We were looking for like. I remember 2018. I remember saying, "Oh, I hope we have a good quarter. I hope we're just in the game at halftime."
Oh, do you remember that? Do you remember that Frio game at Etihad, mate? Do you know where I was? I was driving into the game and I was listening on Triple M, and it was 70-0 at one point, and I just, you know what? I'm like, I turned the car around. I went home. I was halfway to Etihad. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this to myself today.
Yeah, I
But
was. That was 2018, wasn't it?
yeah, it must have been. It must have
Yeah.
been.
Oh yeah, I was. I was in Israel watching it then.
Oh, mate.
Some of
But
the.
Terry, it's not even the worst of it, mate.
Well, it's not. It's not. That was one of the worst.
That
The
was
the the GWS one where they had like one. They had like one less player on the field, and they was still running goals in like we were witches' hats. Like we've come from the depths of hell.
mate. That's why if this works out, that's why I maintain we've got the best supporters in the league.
Mm,
We do. I don't give a crap about what anyone else says. No clubs. Yeah, people have gone through droughts. Yeah, but at least in those droughts, like premiership droughts, they've had moments where they've been, up in there. But not us. We have been spat on, kicked, labelled cheats. Just Jesus. That's why I reckon, man. Like we've got the best supporters in the league. Like we really
yeah,
do.
yeah. I mean, we we increased our membership tally by something like. Oh, I should have the stats in front of me. It was either, I think it's 15%. I think that was the number, what it was. We increased our membership by over 10% after 2018 when we won 2 games. And, it's funny when you made a little comment just then about, we're going to see Harry. Because I remember saying, why aren't they playing Harry? Like, we were just waiting to see Harry play. Like, is he good? Like, who is this kid? Because Charlie was playing.
What a
And
story for you. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. So,
Well, that's
yeah,
what I'm just saying. It's just amazing. We're in 2020. All of a sudden, this could be Harry's year to stake himself as the guy. It's just cool to
yeah,
see.
it is. It is. I just question how we got to this point. It feels like the years, like you kind of like slept through them, but we haven't. I don't know, man. Like time flies, but looking back, it's unbelievable. But speaking of Harry, I ran into Kane Little after the game against West Coast. I think it was Harry's the day he kicked 4. I ran into him in the hallway, like leaving the G, and I was like, Kane, how are you, man? He shook my hand. I shook his hand, blah blah blah. And he goes, yeah, what did you think of Harry? And I just looked at him like, mate, are you taking the piss? I didn't say that to him. I was just thinking, how could you ask me what I think of Harry? We've been begging to see this guy, and he just goes and tears up West Coast, and you ask me what I think about Harry. But yeah, that was an interesting moment. But yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, are you said you're optimistic going into this year. It's we're filming this, and this will be on the channel in February 2021. So when we're watching ourselves back in a couple of decades from now, we'll see what we were talking about. How are you feeling this year? What's your gut feel? Are you optimistic?
Yeah. Look, before I will say, because I think I come across to a lot of people as negative. Because I sometimes listen to myself. I'm like, why am I so jaded? But man, I just feel as I wrote this down because I wanted to tell you this bit. I
Yes.
just feel as each year has gone by, I feel myself getting more and more loyal and fierce to the club. But at the same time, man, I feel myself getting more jaded and uh, just more jaded, a bit more like I hold them to higher standards Just it seems like every year that goes by, I just get more and more anxious about it. But about where we are now, the work's done. I hope the work is done. I'm optimistic, man, but I'm not like, I don't think we're going to be a finals team. I know people don't want to hear that. I just don't think that, what is it? I just don't think it's complete yet.
Yeah.
I think we're going to compete. I really think we're going to compete, and we might find ourselves in 8 at various points throughout the year. I don't know if we're going to make it or not, because I just still have question marks over Tiggy, especially his coaching group. We've spoken about that, the coaching group. The Cripper situation, I really believe that needs to get done to give these boys a really good go at it, because they can say it doesn't distract them, but if your best player has not signed, like, I don't want those boys to go into every game thinking we need to win this so Crip stays. Like that, I think that is a wrong mindset to have, especially because it's a team game. They can't go into every game thinking, man, we need to win this because hopefully Cripper will stay. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of growth from guys who've been waiting to see. But I just don't know if the whole thing is together yet. And that's got to do with Tigi's maturity as well. Like, he's a young coach, but let's not forget, I don't even think he's 40 yet. He's probably like 38. So
he reminds me. You know what this year, or this group coaching included, reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Rats. Like, Rats was Rats?
He was young too.
In terms of coaching, he was a young coach. So I feel like we're going to get to a point, whether it's this year, next year, the year after, we're going to get to a point where we're going to be, because surely this team is going to play finals this year or next year. Like, there's going to come a point where there is the peak of this group. Now, whether the best of this group is a semi-final or the best of this group is a granny or a whatever, there's going to come a time where we're there. We're in that mix, and I think we're going to come. History repeats itself, and do you learn from your past lessons or not? Just feel like we're going to come to that point with Teague and this group. Are we going to be able to hold our nerve? Did we hire Teague for the job? Are we going to be agile and we're going to move him on? Is a situation going to pop up where another coach is available or another player is available? Or, as you said, Cripps, he could stay, he could leave. It is interesting, and I just want to touch on your point that it's not that you come across as negative. It's just there are people support in different ways, and I just feel like there is an infinite amount of possibilities in this world. There has to be. That's just the way it is, and every single person who has a viewpoint plays an important role. You play an important role in the way you think, because without you saying things and thinking the way you do, you don't trigger me to think about things in another way. I'm generally optimistic and positive, but there is this lagging effect of just disappointment year after year. And I look at myself like 2008, that I was 17 years old. I was the most positive. Everything was fine. Finding a way to win. We're going to win today because Aaron Joseph is going to play on Gary Ablett. It's going to be all fine.
Joseph.
And then over time, I think because we become a little bit older, a bit more mature, our brains develop, we think about things a little bit more. All of a sudden, we start seeing things that the club put out and questioning them straight away that we probably wouldn't have been able to identify beforehand. Criticism comes from understanding things on a deeper level. But ultimately, criticism is important because it's accountability, and that's what the fans are for. The club runs for the fans. That's how it works. That's how this sport works. And it's important that the club is accountable to the fans.
Exactly. And just the point I wanted to touch on there, like with what you said, I used to be like, they're running the club, they know what they're doing. But I don't think like that anymore. I think more exposure to the real world as we've gotten older. I truly do not believe in just giving them a free ride because they are qualified to do the job. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't believe we should just trust them because they're like Michael Gudashay is a big time business owner and he's successful, or Kane Little or Andrew Russell or Teague. Like I know that they know more than us, okay, but I don't think that necessarily equates to they know better than us. because at the end of the day, it is their job, and we support this club because we love it. And what you said as well before, I really believe everything goes in cycles. There's always patterns you can see, like, oh, Carlton's the Richmond of 2014. You know what I mean? And just with the age of this team, I do believe there's a couple of cycles left in it, meaning that if this little assault fails, I think there's enough there to go again. And then after that, maybe there's a bit more to go again after that. So you know how Richmond got onto their flag tilt. They had their first little cycle in that team when Dusty was young and Daniel Jackson and all those guys. They got rid of them, and they brought in Nankervis, Caddy, and Prestia, and they went again. So that's why like getting a rebuild is so important, because you don't just get one shot at it through a rebuild. You get a couple of shots if you're smart, because the core is there and it's young, and then you can chop and change as you go. So I don't believe into that. Oh, we have to make it now, or else the rebuild's failed. Because I've just seen it happen too many times with different clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, further to Richmond, I mean, they lost their favourite son, Delidio. That was hard for them to do. But through that's when they went and got the Prestias and the Caddies, and the Tom Lynches eventually. I think you're right. I mean, my thing with this rebuild is, like you said, I think we did it the right way in terms of getting those key position stakes at either end. The Wiederings, the Harrys,
Definitely.
The Charlies. The Charlie one hurts me. Because it's like he's the staple of the spine, like he's the and whatever I thought this group was going to be, it can't, and it's not me being negative, it's just me saying, well, if we don't have Charlie and if he's not going to be the Charlie that we thought, that's why it hurts when he goes down, when I see players like Tom de Koning go down. These are the key foundational pieces for me. But having said that, what I love about this group, and I mean, I want to get your take, is Cripps was nowhere in that picture in the 2020 Best and Fairest. It was Walsh, Wiedering, next gen straight away coming through, because for too long it's been the Cripps show, and it's been an interesting one. We're now coming up to this point where February 2021, at the time of filming this, he hasn't signed yet. I know that we've had a conversation about this. The way you're reading it and seeing it, the signs are pointing to him leaving. I'm sitting more in the situation of, if he stays, great. If he leaves, great, because we have the asset, we get the compensation. So either way, we're going to be okay. But you touched on before about it being a bit of a distraction. So in an ideal world, what happens? He just signs tomorrow?
Yeah, obviously. I think it's hard, man, because I can't say I hope he leaves, because I don't. But I 100% agree with your point. If he goes, we are going to be compensated massively.
The league has hyped him up. The league,
exactly. And what's gone before him, like Joe Danaher, who hasn't played in 3 years, got that. And you're telling me Cripper, we're not going to be like. So either way, I think it's going to be okay. But the way I read it with Cripper, I'm just basing that off my own mental makeup. I don't really know, but just how I see it. I believe he really does love the club, but the lure of home is there, and he's got his missus as well, who is from there, and she's had her challenges as well. So, and I just think the longer it goes on, the more it just becomes more likely that he's going to be like, look, I really do love you guys, but I have to do what's best for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes going back home. I think it's going to tear him up the longer it goes. I really do, because I really do believe he loves the club. That's why if he decided to go, I would never hate him. Like, screw you, Cripper, I'm going to boo you next time you play at the G. But for us, if he were to go, it might be one of those cases where, hey, they lost their best player, but look what they gained, and it actually made them better.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe we're in a win-win. We're in a win-win spot.
Yeah, it's the old Patrick Ewing theory from the NBA. Once he retired, they got better. I mean, Dangerfield leaves Adelaide, they get better. You become unpredictable. So it's interesting. other things I want to ask you about this group. Who are some of your favourites from this group? This modern Carlton group. Who are your favourite players? Who's your up and coming sleeper that maybe doesn't get the attention yet or is coming up? Who are some of your guys?
Yeah, I love. I really like Wieders because he just brings more than just a player. Like you can see that guy is he's a general. He's a heart soul sort of player. I really like Williamson. I just think he's once again I like players who embody the spirit of the club a lot, and you can tell Willow just plays for that jumper. Like he's been through a hard road, and you can tell he loves it. Doherty the same. Grew up a Carlton supporter, left Brisbane to come to us. Who else do I like? Obviously, love Harry. Just dying. I think we all were dying to CH to see him finally break into the side. Yeah, man. There's probably more too. The ones that I think we're sleeping on. I really think Paddy Dow. I've been huge on Dowie. I really think he can shock a lot of people because I think he's got everything, man. But I just think it's all mental with him. Like you don't forget how to kick a footy overnight. Yeah, Dowie, Samo. I really think Samo is going to surprise people too. He's too good of a player. I hate putting him on the back line. But yeah, definitely Samo. I think Fish as well. Fish just seems like he's got levels.
Yeah.
He hasn't hit, doesn't he? Like he's got
this
aura about him.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a vibe to him. There's like a maturity. He was like the little boy. He was really lightly framed kid, but he had a bit of spunk about him when he first got to the club, and now he's starting to really mature in the face and just his demeanor, and he's always been good with the fans as well. Like if I've gone to open training, you'd sort of you watch him, you watch how they behave, and he's really good with the fans, and he kind of just gets it. Like he's a clubman, he's obviously a WA boy as well. He's come here. This is his new family. You become accustomed to the fans because they become sort of part of your family, even though you don't really know them or all of them, as humans closely. But yeah, I feel you as well.
It's just what other players say about him.
Yeah.
Like about Fish, like players from other clubs. Like I remember Jack Rewalt during AFLX. Like I know AFLX was whatever, but Jack was he was big on Fish because he's just they all talk about Fisher. We might not always see it in games, but you can see the guy is supremely skilled.
Mm-hmm.
The way he can handle a footy and handle it in these weird positions, and yeah, he's got a bit of X factor, a bit of specialness about him.
Yep. All right. A couple more. 2021 season. What's your predict? What's a pass for you? Like, what's your expectation? And at the end of the year, what needs to happen for you to say, okay, I'm happy with what happened this year?
Yeah. It's not really about a ladder position.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what I see. If they are competing against the top sides and they beat a few, and let's say they're in the 8 and they get drop out and they just miss out, or because it's very hard, man. Like I see a lot of people saying they should finish 8th or 6th or 7th, but you got to look at the ladder. Who's going to drop out? It's very tough. It's not an easy. Just because we've rebuilt, we're not entitled to finish here. It's very hard to see who's going to drop out. But if they're competing with the top sides and they can beat a top 4 team some point in the year and really show that our system stands up, even if they miss finals, I'll be happy. I'll be content because it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this team has a lot of years. Well, they do have a good period of time to get it right and to really assault. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. No, love it.
At the end of the year, was that the last bit? What do I want to see?
Yeah, I just wanted to know a little bit about, we're sitting here in October, and I want to know what will it take for you to be saying to me, I'm okay with what happened this year. Obviously, barring disasters happening and lockdowns and shocking injuries to the best players and all of that. If everyone is healthy, obviously. I just wanted to know a little bit about your expectations, because I think we've gone from that 2018 era, losing, 70-0 at halftime, and we were getting those beltings, those embarrassing ones. We eliminated them a little bit in 2019. 2020, we got rid of them completely. But then there was this new thing of the 5-goal swings. And My thing is more so there's got to be no more of those. We've got to iron those out, and naturally we'll win more games, and we're going back to full game time again, and the way it should be, and the way it used to be before the COVID season happened. So yeah, who do
I
you
think
expect? Yeah,
sorry, man. Yeah, I think I just want to see more of a definitive system.
Yep.
Because I feel like even though we were competitive last year, I just
Mm.
felt it was a bit erratic at times. And I'd like to see them stick to, like, this is how Carlton play. You know how Carlton are going to play. And that's what I want to see.
Yeah. Who's going to win the best and fairest?
For next year. It depends on Cripper, doesn't it? If he gets back to what he was, there's no one beating him. But I have a feeling Walshy's just going to go again, bang again, and just shove it up everyone who reckons we should have taken Rosie. Bloody hell, mate! I'd rather consistent brilliance. This is another little rabbit hole. I would rather consistent brilliance week in, week out than a player who's going to win me 1 or 2 games a year with a flashy performance. Get out of here with that, man! Drive me crazy.
Love it. I'm assuming Harry is who you believe is going to lead the goal kicking.
He has to be, doesn't he?
Yeah, because I want to know. Yeah, I want to know, like, how many do you think he's going to kick?
How many for H?
How many for H?
Well, if he can crack 40, I think that's a big step. That's a perfect step.
Massive.
Yeah, but he kind of has to. Yeah, like, you can't say he's got to kick 30 goals. It's time, H. He's looking great. He's looking like an absolute Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
He's quick. He's got the agility. He's got it all. It's just if that midfield can deliver that ball to him the way it should be delivered, and not give it to him in the freaking pocket, and making him kick bananas 10 times a game, yeah, he should crack 40.
Yeah,
he should crack 40, and he's more than a goal kicker, I reckon, because he's got a bit of buddy to him in the way of his athleticism. Yeah, he's got pace. He can burn people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How many meltdowns on the fan cams are we going to see in 2021?
From me personally, or
just
everyone?
In general, just every general.
I reckon there's going to be some games that we're right in, and there's just going to be some stupid error from the same culprit, and I'm going to be calling you up and having an absolute meltdown. I reckon there's going to be about 4 from me.
Okay.
Because I just think it's going to be one of those years where we're right in it, and it's just going to be a game of centimeters,
Yeah. I ask everyone this question: when is this group lifting up the next flag?
Hey, God. Okay. Next flag. What are we in? 2021, 23.
Okay.
I really think 23.
Yeah. It seems like we all think we're about to, like, we've just going to, this year will be the year we open the door into that, that 209, 2010, 211 type run. That's what the vibe is from everyone. It seems like they've done their apprenticeship. We're now going and getting free agents that are mature to come into the group. So we're not going and drafting anymore. So I think we're going to start entering, hopefully, that period where it's big games, finals football, right in the thick of it. I mean, we finished 11th in 2020, 2 spots out of the 8.
And how many games did we lose by under
3.
10? So
yeah,
3, 4. Yeah.
So
look, I would love it. The way I'm thinking about it is a very linear projection.
Okay.
Like by this year they should be in there. But I would love to be surprised and be shocked out of my mind and bang this year or next year.
Just one time. Just one time.
Just once. Every other team seems to get it. Port had it. West Coast had it. Richmond had it. Can we just have 1 year where we don't have to follow the narrative? Far out.
So true.
Far out.
So true. Oh man, that's brilliant. Well, listen, man, I've loved this. I really have. It's good to have you on. I appreciate you, and fascinating who you meet along the journey. And I don't know, I can't pinpoint the exact time when we met, but it's just somewhere along the journey, I think the fan cams obviously was the other solidifying point. Appreciate your contributions to the club, to the channel. Keep being you, and I'll definitely see you around.
No worries, man. Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's been a pleasure.
Go the Baggers, hey?
Go to Baggers.